Hey guys, this is Ryan from Resume to Offer. Hope everyone's doing well. Happy Friday. It is January 24th, and today we're going to be talking about account executive, AE, interview questions, and some tips on how to do that. So if this is your first time to the channel, welcome. Glad to have you. This is Resume to Offer. We kind of answer a lot of different questions on that. I've been in tech recruiting and I've been a head of talent for the last 14 years. So I've hired thousands of people actually, but hundreds of people we've been able to place into certain roles as well as to career coach them to get the target roles. But also, I've been an account executive. I've been an account executive in cybersecurity sales, and I've been an account executive actually in the staffing industry, a couple of years ago as well. So I know many sides of this kind of equation, the background, and each stage of the interview process, the entire recruiting and talent acquisition funnel. So my job is to kind of like help you guys navigate that, how to get the job, give you guys some insights and tips on how to kind of, especially in modern day, it has definitely changed since pretty much pre-COVID and kind of post-COVID, very different kind of job search methodologies. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about account executive. And, obviously we get a lot of people looking into SDR, like how do I manage that? How do I get into a entry-level sales role, or at least in, a junior sales role? Account executive is kind of mid-level. It's a little bit more on the executive area. It's kind of mid to exec. So we're gonna be talking about that, some of the things that you should look at. And some of this research is based off, me being in the industry. I've been in tech totally for probably about the 5 or 6 years, maybe actually 7 years now. 7 years, and it's also based on Johnson O'Connor, that research when they were doing executive level tests and looking at that, the information that's in applicant tracking systems, and then obviously my own research. Right now I'm actually doing a project where I'm interviewing a lot of executives, and you're finding the common denominators. When you find those common denominators, you actually plug them into the applicant tracking system. Also the ATS system, it is the funnel and software that recruiters use to organize all the different resumes, all the contact information, kind of like similar to a CRM, a little bit different, but this way they kind of locate and pinpoint the top most successful, people for the job, best candidates, who's going to have the highest probability of success. So how do we do that for our account executives? You need to have certain personality traits, and there's personality traits that we notice with account executives. Okay. I would say that being a good recruiter means that you're always looking at the common denominators of your best hires, but also not just the past, but also forecasting. What skills do they need to have? So this is kind of one of why I'm always kind of looking into this. So the number one most common trait that you need to have in terms of being an executive is actually, funny enough, curiosity. That is one of the number one things that they look for. So number one is curiosity. You have to really be always interested. They love people who love to learn about sales and tech and want to learn about a territory. They want to keep going into the numbers. There's always a curiosity. When I've talked to executives, I interviewed a bunch of executives in the last, doing this 3-month project in both kind of different areas of tech, in actually other industries with insurance, also in VC. Every single executive, without question, they all said the number one thing that they look for new hires, but also in their own traits, curiosity. You have to be naturally curious. You always have to be, we talk about kind of teachability and student mindset. This is kind of where that comes in. So during your interview, you definitely want to display a natural characteristic of, constant growth. You always want to be learning. Curiosity into learning why things are the way they are. So having that. Second thing, qualitative versus quantitative, okay? They are always looking for people who have great social skills, communication skills, emotional intelligence, but also have a quantitative analysis. You are able to know, the metrics of your territory, the metrics of your last job. Even if you're not, maybe you come from you worked as a bartender, you worked as a plumber, a mechanic, and maybe you weren't doing quantitative stuff. They still want to know you have some kind of quantitative analysis, okay? When we do teaching for job hunting, we actually break this down into a quantitative approach. What are the KPIs you should be looking for? How many resumes should you be sending out on a daily basis? How many follow-ups should you be doing on a weekly basis? and you're breaking that down. Great book that I would recommend is the How to Design Your Work Life. This is a great book that actually breaks that down on how you can approach this. Look at certain, there's other great books out there, The Game of Work. That's another one that talks about how to kind of measure and take an analytical approach to kind of your work life, okay? So you want to make sure that you have quantitative ability and qualitative ability. Very important. Another big thing that they look for is initiative. Initiative is one of those big things, and it's actually one of the secret questions that in a lot of high-level executive meetings, they actually ask, hey, over the last 6 months, what are 3 projects that you took the initiative on? Or what are 3 things that you did and you took initiative on? What are ways that you drove the process? And, I was talking to an executive about this, guy who runs a big company, I can't say it, but big company. And he talked about that this was his number one question. And he said that it's so crazy, only 5% of the time people actually had something. So you want to make sure that you have this as part of your storytelling when you're kind of displaying your value, especially in that first 5 minutes of an interview. That's so key. It's your first impression. You have a little bit more time when they say talk about yourself. You want to add a story that talks about you taking initiative, you moving the ball forward in the organization. You entered an organization, here's the before, here's the after effect, or you entered a department. Next thing, leadership skills. You have to make sure that you have adequate leadership skills, okay? Leadership skills is leading by example. It's, you can dominate, but you don't domineer. You're able to get you're having accountability with your team. You're also able to do the job, okay? That's the big thing. But you're able to basically mentor a few members of your team and make them better. And you're better together than you are apart. So there's a synergistic effect. One of the key things they look for is actually your hiring ability. So as an account executive, part of the decision making in the recruiting process, you're going to be like maybe stage 2 or stage 3 in the recruiting process to actually give your opinion. And you have to be able to pick winners. Kind of the same as a recruiter or the hiring manager. You have to be able to look at, hey, who do I think is going to be the best person synergistically for my team? And I can take them where they are and make them even better and make them an asset for the company. So your ability to identify talent for your team is very, very key, and be able to lead that team to the next thing, taking initiative and basically able to push them to the next level, okay? So they're looking at kind of your ability not just to lead, but also to teach other people in your team and communicate the expectations and how to keep them accountable at the same time. So they're always looking for that. The other big thing is delayed gratification, okay? One of the big key differences between SDRs and AEs is actually the amount of timeline that you focus on, okay? So when I do teaching people who are trying to get SDR jobs, I talk about they're looking for certain focus. They're looking for usually over the next 0 to 2 years. You have a single point of focus, you have an objective, you have key results you want to hit, but it's really a timeline thing. For SDRs, look over the next 2 years. For AEs, they're expecting you to have a longer timeline focus. Not just 2 years, but really the next 5 years, the next 3 to 5 years, even up to 10 years. Why? Because account executives, when you're dealing with B2B business, a lot of the time it takes follow-up. Sometimes you have to follow up with the same company, 7 times just to kind of have dinner. And sometimes you have to have like meetings with them 4 or 5 times afterward. It's a long delayed gratification game. So they want to make sure that when you do that, you have focus, you're willing to kind of, you won't get rocked by kind of the sways, and you have delayed gratification, that you're going to be consistent and persistent until you get there, okay? Once you get the ball rolling, then others will everything will fall into place, but they're looking for people who can embrace delayed gratification. So again, curiosity, emotional intelligence, you need to make sure to have qualitative versus quantitative, good communication skills, taking initiative, leadership skills, and delayed gratification. Another thing that I would recommend focusing on is a kind of a personality test. This kind of goes into what I've talked about before, kind of candidate personas, but they talk about DISC. Myers-Briggs, the 5 Oceans method. There's different ones out there. I would recommend if you're going to focus on one of these type of personality tests, and this is very important when they're making executive decisions, but look at the 4 temperaments. Look at the 4 temperaments and see which one that you actually go into. If you study the 4 temperaments, and I might do a video on that later, but you basically want to make sure, let me make sure I have it written down here. So there's 4 temperaments: sanguine, melancholy, choleric, and phlegmatic, okay? You definitely want to be choleric or sanguine. Go ahead and look those up. It really reflects on the typical candidate persona that they're searching for. So look that up and make sure to see if you're a fit for that. It's also something that's based off in certain big enterprise companies. They have personality tests that they send to you, and it takes about an hour or 2. You got to go through it. There's word association, math skills, but knowing these 4 type of temperaments, the 4 kind of character types that they're looking for, is very, very important. There's really 1 and 2 key ones that they're looking for, and that is sanguine and choleric, okay? So I hope that helps. Feel free to reach out. I do want to read real quick. I just got sent this testimonial, some feedback from somebody who I think we chatted 2-3 weeks ago. Jacob, this is for you, buddy. But he basically said, he sent me this exactly 22 minutes ago. Hey Ryan, just wanted to throw you an update. Currently have 4 different official offers, and I'm in conversations with 2 additional opportunities. Thank you again for all your help. And I basically responded, that's epic, man, way to go. And he responded after that, you pointed my raft in the right direction on this one. So I'm very appreciative on your help and direction. Cheesy, I know, but I had to, smiley face. So Jacob, I really appreciate that. If you guys need additional resources, feel free to reach out in the description below. I'll include some common account executive interview questions that you guys can utilize, but also check out Resume to Offer. I offer certain courses and one-on-ones. Some people, as you can see, we've gotten really good feedback, and people have gotten a lot of jobs because of that. Check that out. Check out Higher Levels. I partner with them. I lead 2 of the weekly update calls with that group. They have what's called the SDR Accelerator and the AE Mastery. You can use my referral link and you get a free one-on-one with me. And then last but not least, I recommend checking out the Your Wish is Your Command audio series. This is a series that I think is one of the best, if not the best, on personal development and just kind of overall success training. I listened to this 15 years ago. I still listen to it. I listen to it at least once a year, and you can get that completely free. So if you go in the description below, there's a link, use the link, and there's a coupon code, you use that, and you get it absolutely free. Okay, it's a $500 value for you guys, and that's a big gift. Anyway, feel free to reach out, and hope that helps. Have a great weekend. Cheers.